as we talked yesterday about the introduction of the progressive movement and what the progressive movement was and who it worked for and what they were trying to do, we talked about how once the progressives made some changes to government that they were going to focus pretty heavily on making some changes to society and the way business was structured. Today we're going to hyper-focus in on a couple of different of those progressive presidents. We're going to take a look at Teddy Roosevelt, who was president leading from 1904 up to 1908, 1909, and we're going to take a look at President Taft, who comes in after him, and then we're going to see how those two are the same and how they're different and how they're both progressive and that they're going to do things to help workers, and they're also going to do things to make sure that government is more functioning for society so the government can try and fix the social problems. You can see we've got a couple of questions here that we're working with today, or at least a couple of responses to this question. Can politics fix social problems? Roosevelt especially will be able to do this because he uses what's called the square deal, and I want you to think about it as common sense politics. Roosevelt isn't going to do anything that's too extreme. He's not going to be way anti-business, but he's not going to be way anti-worker. He's going to look for some of that middle ground, that kind of ground right in the middle where Roosevelt can say, this right here, this is the space where we can all operate together and we can all be successful. And I'm going to give you some examples here of how he does that. One of the big problems that we talked about so far in the Second Industrial Revolution and as the progressive age starts in the early 1900s are big business monopolies, trusts, holding companies. These companies that had great control over the market, paid their workers very little, terrible working conditions, set prices whatever they wanted them to be because they were monopolies. Roosevelt's going to say, look, I know that big business, large business organizations are part of the reason that our country is as successful as it is, and you can see it up there above me. But I know that the monopoly power can really hurt the average person because the average person only makes so much money, and monopolies can charge whatever they want. So what he's going to do is say, all right, instead of breaking up all these big businesses, which have really helped us be successful, and instead of letting all these workers get hurt with these really high prices, I'm going to create something known as gentlemen's agreements, something that you could call a common sense approach. Cooperation and regulation. Here's how it works. I identify, and I'm going to pull up this image here for you. I identify a big business, a business that is really just having a tough time, a monopoly, like this one over here. And I'm going to say to them, all right, pal, you've got to pay your workers a little more money. If you do, then I'm going to let you alone. I will have restraint, and you can see that right there with my lightsaber. If I come to you and I tell you that you're a bad trust, that you're a trust that needs to be busted, trust busting, if you're a trust that has to be broken up or taken down, and I tell you to fix something and you don't fix it, I am going to break that trust up. I'm going to break that business up, but I'm going to give you a chance. And even here, like the good trusts, if you do what I tell you to do, no one even has to know. I'll keep it quiet. No one will know. This kind of common sense approach really struck a chord with voters and with business and with workers because everybody benefits. The businesses know they can't get away with crazy shenanigans that hurt workers and immigrants. But the workers and the immigrants know that they can't get everything that they want because it's not practical, because business does need to be successful. It's a real common sense approach. Here's some other examples. There was a coal miners' strike in 1902. In that coal miners' strike, it was really a scary situation because winter was coming on and people were going to freeze by the millions in America without the coal that we needed and that they needed. So Roosevelt sits down and he says, okay, coal workers, coal mine owners, you've got to accept arbitration. You need to come into the White House, sit down, tell me about your problems. What do you want? What do you want? Let's find that common ground. This is what we will do. And if you agree, then no harm, no foul. Everybody gets to go back to work. If you disagree with Teddy Roosevelt, speak softly, carry a big stick, you're going to get the army. I'm taking over the mines and I'm putting you back to work. And you're not going to like it until you get this problem solved, pal. So that's one of the examples of common sense approaches. The mine owners get some of what they want. The mine workers get some of what they want. Neither side is fully happy, but both goes to work. Same for the Forest Service. Our lumbering industry had been cutting down forests like crazy. The West was rapidly losing its forests. Roosevelt says, I'm okay with you using the wood, guys, but you got to use it in a smart way, right? You can't be stupid about it. You got to use it in a way that makes sense, right? You cut one down, you got to plant two more, right? Do something that's intelligent about it. So that he creates the United States Forest Service to help regulate those wood resources and prevent business from overusing it. He's going to say, all right, you know what, business, you want to expand out west, you want to get on those railroads and go west, that's fine. You do that. You go west, go do your thing. But out west, there are certain resources which are one of a kind. You can't touch those things. Grand Canyon, Old Faithful, Glacier National Park. You can't replace that stuff. It's priceless. So he says, I'm going to create a national park system. And what we're going to do is we're going to protect specific national wonders like the Grand Canyon. And then even after he leaves office in the late 1900s, or 1900s, I should say, that Park Service continues to grow long after his presidency to include places like Gettysburg and all over the country. Okay, so essentially what you're seeing here is that underneath President Roosevelt, the power of the president is going to grow dramatically because he takes action in a way which doesn't offend people too much, but at the same time he gets things done so that people will continue to allow him to do these things that are common sense, that are square deal. Everybody gets an equal fair share, right? You might not like the share that you get, whether you're the mine owners or the mine workers, but you're going to get a fair shot. You're going to get a square deal, okay? So look, I think that gives you a good idea of kind of how he starts how he kind of starts this ball rolling.